All right. Hey, Natalie, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm good. I'm good, Alec. Hope the same goes for you.
Yeah, not too bad. It's been an interesting week for sure. A little bit of news from what I can tell. Uh,
Absolutely, just a little bit.
just a little bit. And always interesting watching from north of the border. Anyway, folks, let us know where you're calling in from. If you're wherever you happen to be, and don't forget you can drop your questions in at any time. We want to hear from you, and we want to answer your questions. But as is tradition, I have some questions I'd like to kick things off with Natalie, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, cool. So first of all, I would love to know why you're investing in this role right now. What is going on at Honeybook where you're like, we really need somebody with this kind of expertise to join our team?
Yeah. So the role that we're looking to hire it falls under my team, which is the organic content team on the marketing team here at Honeybook. However, this role is a little bit of, it lives in different places and different orgs and different companies. But so what we're looking for is essentially a website manager. And the reason it's living on the content team is because we're really at a pivotal moment for us as a business and as a brand where we want to really clearly bring our brand mission, our product value to life to our target users. And our website is essentially the front door for us to do that. And so we're looking for a website manager living under the content team to bring someone in who really has a balance of kind of that, that way with words, that creativity, but also can marry that to technical background and understand, UI and creating great high converting web pages. So to really bring together these critical requirements for our business around like making our brand really clear, our product comprehension really strong, and doing that both through both the copy and the way that the pages are. The messaging and positioning, and then also the way the pages are kind of formatted, how they look, how they operate, how they're optimized for conversion, so that we can really go out and reach our target customers, which are independent service providers.
Amazing. So it sounds like this is like a really interesting role where um, maybe generally somebody in this kind of role would be hired for strictly, the turning the cogs in the machine of like managing a website, but you really want somebody who brings that art of how do we communicate really powerfully with the people we're trying to serve.
Absolutely. I'm looking for someone who can really, not necessarily someone who needs to write all the copy themselves, but who has that eye for how to communicate effectively and efficiently and can be a partner to our creative team and our copywriters, to make sure that, we are balancing that need for effective converting pages with, proper brand representation, and product value positioning. So someone who can, understand the technical back end and how the pieces come together, but really can be an advocate for bringing the brand to life in that environment.
I love that. Can you tell me a bit about who these individuals going to be working with closely on your team, and what makes for those kinds of like successful collaborations, if you will?
Yeah. So they will be working closely with a number of people on my team. So we have our editorial content marketing manager, who's really thinking more about the long form and that holistic content strategy. What are those key messages that we want to bring to our audience, quarter over quarter to represent the value that Honeybook can bring to independent business owners. So working closely with them to pull that content strategy into our website strategy. Also working with our developers, so our front end team, and our growth team, so that product and dev side, and then also our product marketing team, so our PMMs who are thinking about how to bring different components of our product to market, and need to leverage the website in order to further that product comprehension and represent the full breadth of what Honeybook can bring to our.
That's cool. It really feels like it's like a bit of a node connecting a lot of really important pieces as that like
Absolutely.
the front store of your brand almost, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very much kind of, we're looking for someone who, like I said, has that content experience or awareness and that technical experience, but really is kind of like that project manager, can bring the different team members together and facilitate a really efficient workflow to
Love
manage our
that.
website.
Cool. Let's take some questions from the chat. We got some good ones coming in here. So shout out to Abby. This is a great question here. Abby was asking, is there strong back-end support? What is the level of technical support for, I guess, customization and doing new and interesting things with the website to help with the enablement?
Yeah, so this person is not expected to be a developer in and of themselves. We have that expertise on the team, and they will be partnering with backend and our PM team as well. But I am looking for someone who knows how like the backend systems work, so can kind of speak that technical language and be a partner to those teams.
Great. That's a great answer. Peter was asking, I feel like this is a little bit of a leading question here. Are you open to having a candidate who's fully remote, but can definitely 100% deliver on those KPIs and more? Peter, that's good positioning. This is good for the role.
I see that messaging skills there. We are right now looking to hire for the role in San Francisco. We have a hybrid work culture for the most part, and so we do 2 days in the office in San Francisco, and we've found that that's been really great for our culture and collaboration. And so that is how we're starting with the search with the role, and so we're not looking for fully remote right now.
Cool, great question, Peter. Listen, always shoot your shot though. You never know. Maybe you're that great, and rules are meant to be broken, as they say. Shannon, tell us a little bit about the KPIs. Essentially, like, what are the outcomes that you expect this person to help deliver on?
Yeah, so I'd say one of there's kind of two ways to think about the KPIs. I mean, one of the big projects that we have for the site is actually doing like a full overhaul. So we are planning to really do, we're calling it an upgrade project. It's really an in-depth design project where we're thinking through, the content hierarchy, the nav structure, the on-page components, like really like the full representation of the website. And so one of the KPIs is efficient execution of that project on time. Like, we really do need someone to step in and be the project manager for the design agency that we'll work with, and then facilitate the implementation of that new design and that new structure with our dev team. So that's a really critical KPI and something that we want to kick off in the new year, and hope to be efficient in executing. And then beyond that, really critically, we need the page and the website as a whole to be performant. So it's really about conversion, and making sure that we can bring when high intent visitors land on the page, they come through the door as a trialer and are ready to start their journey in adopting Honeybook as their business management platform. And so we need to make sure that the website is representing that goal. And so the key KPI there is around conversion to trial.
Love that. Sylvester, shout out to Sylvester here. Been doing his homework, or her homework, not sure. Not familiar with the name Sylvester, but whoever you are. He or she also saw that there was a copywriter vacancy on the site. So it sounds like you're potentially investing in a lot of content, that you need a whole content marketing department. Is there just like so much need for content that we got to have content on content on content in terms of who you're hiring?
I mean, in short, Honeybook is growing. Like, we're really investing and expanding our marketing team, and we have been lean and nimble for a while, and we have exciting goals, and are expanding into new markets. And so, with that, we're really investing in the development of our marketing team. And the copywriter position that is open is in particular on our creative team, which is kind of within the broader marketing team, and that person will be supporting with web copy, ad copy, creative campaigns, and we'll work closely with, this website role, as well as, other roles on my team, whether it's on social media or some of our, podcast and YouTube content to, help help strengthen our messaging and positioning. So it's definitely a complement to the existing content team and the existing creative team, but we're just growing. So
That's good problems to have,
yeah.
especially today. So we'd love to hear it. Imani, a great question here. How was this person going to collaborate with a social media team? It seems like, if your website's your front door of the store, it's your brick and mortar,
Mhm.
there's somebody out there who's spreading the word on the street. That'll be
Yeah.
the social media team. In this metaphor, how are we hanging out together? What are we
For
doing?
sure. For sure. Well, both the social media role and this website role will live on my team. So just by virtue of fact that everybody is on the content team, I expect, collaboration and close communication. And I would look at it like the funnel that it is. Social media is that topmost part of the funnel. We're really speaking to the broadest possible audience and starting to build up that brand awareness and that consideration, and then pulling those people over onto the website, whether that's the blog or our homepage or a feature page. And so there's definitely opportunities to think strategically between how we're, positioning our product value on social media and pulling people into the right places on our website, pulling learnings from social media about what we're hearing in the market, messaging and positioning, how are our target users talking about Honeybook and talking about their needs that can inform maybe some creative decisions we make on the site. So those are some of the ways that I could see them working together.
Cool. I think that's great. Abby has another great question here. Um, she's noticed a lot of reposted roles or a lot of roles. Is this just an artifact of growth and you're just adding more and more people because things are working? Or does it have to do with some of the things that you're looking for are a little bit harder to find?
Yeah.
Tell me more about that balance.
Yeah, so I would say, I mean, I can't speak for all the roles. I mean, it's an astute observation, but I can't speak for all the roles. But I will say in general, Honeybook is our stage of growth is really, we are no longer the super scrappy, super nimble startup, but we're not yet, big corporate. And so what that means is a lot of the roles that we're hiring for are really like player coach. We need people to be able to come in, be a leader and develop strategy, but also still be willing to kind of get their hands dirty and get into the code or get into the design or get into the copy. And I think sometimes it can still be hard to find people who are of that mindset. And there's so much great talent out in the market right now. So, it's just making your way through a lot of applications, but then also really being specific about, you know, um, aligning the expectations of the applicant with what the role actually is. And sometimes that just takes time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's interesting, especially at an organization that's growing quickly, the roles or the needs within even a function or a department change a lot, right? If you're growing a lot, all of a sudden you go from player to player coach. Sometimes now we have a need for a leader, a manager, and then this and that, and so it's great when you have that flexibility because you can step kind of in both arenas as need be, which especially at this stage, the flexibility is good to have.
Yeah, and it's really, what ways of working work for you, right? So some people might really be in that point in their career when they really do just want to, they're really focused on people management, building out teams, and are further away from the hands-on kind of work. And some people, might be in that phase in their career, but really miss the hands-on kind of work. And I think that's what makes our stage of growth as a business really appealing. I really enjoy it. I like, still getting my hands into the work and not just doing the team building and management, which is rewarding in and of itself, but that is just what we're at in the size that we are. I mean, Honeybook is only 250 people still. So, we're in the grand scheme of things still relatively small. And so we need people who are comfortable doing a bit of both.
Yeah. Can you talk a bit about the work culture? Can you maybe contrast that with some other places that people might know that you've worked at in the past? What makes it different? What's the same?
Yeah. So I would say, I mean, Honeybook has a really great work culture, and it's one of the places where just something that was evident to me from when I started, and I think is still very much true today, is there is real, we have our core values, and some companies might have core values for sort of the sake of having core values, but I really do think at Honeybook, we really try to live and breathe those. And one of them is that people come first, and there really is this sense of camaraderie, partnership, support. across across all teams and departments. And I think that that allows for really effective collaboration and communication, which is not just vital for, a fast moving team, but also one that is spread across multiple time zones. So Honeybook is sort of HQ'd in San Francisco, but we have a hub in New York, and our developer and product team is all in Tel Aviv. And so the time difference between San Francisco and Tel Aviv is 10 hours. So
That's big.
that can
That's
be
not a small time difference. That's a big time
it's a
difference.
big time difference. And so I think that definitely does add a bit of color and texture to the ways that we work. It requires a little bit more flexibility. But it also, I think what has been instilled in the Honeybook culture is just this effective communication, collaboration, and care for one another that makes it work. And I think that that's unique. And, we are able to work very closely in partnership with our contemporaries in Tel Aviv. And so that's something that I really value in the culture, in the work culture. And, gives it its own set of unique character.
I love to hear it. One question that we've gotten on some AMAs before that I love is talking about how we think about someone being successful in the role. So it's a couple different ways that's been asked. One way that's been asked is if, like, in a year from now, let's say somebody's in the role, right?
Yeah.
And a year from that point, how will you know that this was the right person? Like, how will you know that that was a success?
Well, a year from now, one of the ways that we'll know it's a success is that we have a fully upgraded site, so that our site has been revamped. We have, some of the key things that we're looking for in that upgrade project is that, that brand continuity and consistency across the whole site, intuitive content architecture that makes product comprehension and discovery effective. And then, of course, that core KPI around increased conversion rate. And so, we are a high growth company. We want to continue growing. And so a year from now, success would really look like having effectively, upgraded our site and started to achieve that growth in terms of conversion. And I think also just from sort of more interpersonal or behavioral performance characteristics, I would want to hear anecdotal feedback from peers that this person is, a great collaborator, that they're proactive, that they're innovative, good communicator. So just kind of demonstrating the qualities of being an effective project manager, which is what we need for the role.
Love it. I think that's a great answer. I have a follow-up one to that, but Eve came in with a really good question too. The counterfactual, who is this not for?
Yeah.
And so I think maybe the way we can think about, I mean, obviously the overwhelming number of humans out there, this role is not for,
Yes.
but maybe the way to look at it is, for somebody who would look at this role and potentially say, like, this might be for me.
Yeah.
Who are the kinds of folks where it's like, not quite for this one, right?
Yeah.
It's like similar, but not quite for this one.
Yeah. So it might seem a bit counterintuitive because of the title of the role being content marketing manager. But I think what's really critical in the title of the role is then it says, website. I am not looking for someone who has a pure content marketing background. I need that technical expertise. I need someone who's built and managed sites, who's worked with product teams, who understands UI and page performance and analytics. And so it really is this harmony between kind of those content instincts and best practices and that technical background and expertise. And so it's not a pure content role, but content is really critical to being successful in this kind of more technical role. I hope that answers your question.
I think it does. By the way, Abby, very appreciative of this approach to hiring. I think just as a general thing, we're getting a lot of color out of it. And the fact that you also have so much clarity about what needs to be done is, I think, helpful. I think a lot of the things that is really tough for people today when they look at all these job descriptions, often they feel very generic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to know, like, okay, but what do you want, right? We're getting a lot more clarity on that.
Yeah. And I'll just say to that as well, like I am not this role. Like I don't have, I've learned a lot. I have a lot of technical expertise that I've learned over time, but I need someone to come in and be my domain expert in this area, right? So really that I can rely on to know that the website is in good hands. They're making the right technical decisions. They understand how to identify opportunities. They are coming up with opportunistic A/B testing, and they're really stepping in as that domain owner. Um, and yeah, and I think that gives me a lot of clarity because I'm like, I don't have all of those skills, right? And so I need someone to come in and do it.
It's great. And great for partnership, right? Complementary stuff. Imani, you took my next question right out of my mouth. So I'm going to give you the credit for this one. This is another great example, the 30, 60, 90. What, if you can paint a picture of like where we want to be at, either the 1 month mark, the 3 month mark, how
Yeah.
would you look at that?
Totally. Well, 1 month is very much just about, getting onboarded, understanding our brand, our mission, our vision, our audience, our competitive landscape, getting comfortable with the product. What do we offer? What are our key differentiators? How do we do that well right now on our site, and where are opportunities? So probably like a SWOT analysis of our site. So really coming in from a learning mindset, building those key relationships that are critical for cross-functional collaboration. That would really be my expectation in the 30 days. Then as we get into 60 and 90 days, it's really starting to take over the core responsibilities of the role. So, and of course, also in those 30 days, you're getting onboarded to our tech stack. You're getting all ready to, take it by the reins and make it your own. But as I mentioned, we want to do this upgrade project and we want to kick off with a designer in January. And so,
Okay.
that would be, this person would either, we'll see how quickly the hiring goes, but this person may come in right as we're sort of finalizing with an agency. And so that 60-90 will really be about effective kickoff and starting to shepherd the beginning of this really critical and big, lengthy project. So that'll be a big part of that 60-90 time.
I think that's a great answer. We got projects to do, everybody. We got to hit the ground running.
Yes.
I think that's a really, really good one. One other one that I feel like is kind of top of mind when you are submitting let's say a resume. Two stages that I think are really critical. One is, you're doing the application. The other one is that first interview. What are a couple of things that are really high positive signals that you might see when you're reviewing resumes or cover letters or whatever happens to be in that stage? And then also when you have that first call with somebody.
Yeah. I would say, so in that first stage, in the resume stage, I know that people often want to stuff their resume full of every possible thing under the sun that they've done, but really focus, I would say, on the key achievements and accomplishments and, proof points for your skills development. Mostly so that your resume is easy to read. And think about it, myself or a recruiter is going through so many resumes. We want to be able to look at one and very clearly see and be able to read, like, what are this person's, strengths, what are their key accomplishments, and put yourself in the mindset of what we're looking for in the role. If I'm saying right now, I need someone who has some of those, content instincts, and also that technical background, then I'm looking for that to kind of show up in the resume to give me confidence that if we move this person into a first call conversation, that it's the best use of everyone's time, our time, and also the candidate's time. So really making clear, the breadth of your skills in a way that is easy to read, legible.
Hey, that's testing for the role too, right?
Yeah.
That's a high signal thing.
Yes.
Is if you look at that piece of content and you're like, I know exactly what you're all about.
100%. And I think
Yeah.
that often, having looked at a ton of resumes, I think that sometimes gets forgotten or overlooked, that really your resume is the first representation of you as a marketer, right? Like, these are marketing roles. And so, yes, not every marketer is expected to be a designer, to be a copywriter, but but best practices around, how it looks, how it reads, is really critical. It's like your first impression. So definitely keep that in mind. And then to your question around that first interview, I always love to know that someone has done their research. They've looked at
Hmm.
Honeybook. They are kind of can weave anecdotal, reflection of our business and brand. Whether they've read through the site and they have thoughts around things that we can improve, or they just already have a comprehension of what does our business do, and who's our audience, and they kind of bring that into the conversation. That is always a sign to me that someone is has a real interest in the role and has done a bit of their homework. And then I also always want to hear, like, why Honeybook? I mean, I'm looking for people who are also kind of connected to our mission. And so help me understand your why.
I think that's well said. Folks, we have maybe time for one, maybe two more questions here. I think just a little anecdote to build off what you said. There's a guy who does a SaaS podcast that I really like to listen to. You may be familiar with SaaSter or whatever. One of the things that he talks about a lot is he helps with interviews for salespeople. And he's like, people come into the interview and they haven't gone to the website. They have no idea what the product does. They haven't checked the YouTube demos. They haven't done, and he's like, you're ahead of 50% of the candidates if you just do that base level of research.
Yeah. Yeah. Just
crazy.
And yeah, I can't say it enough. It just like, it makes a difference. It makes a difference when you can show and you can clearly demonstrate that you've shown interest in the business, right? Because we're showing interest in you. We've read your resume. We're interested in your candidacy, and we want to have a meaningful conversation to make sure that there's alignment of expectations. And so, if someone's coming in and they're saying things that very clearly show that they haven't done their research, it doesn't go over well in the first interview.
It's not so great. And guys, it's always obvious.
Yeah.
It's always obvious. I think this is a great final question here, or a couple final questions here. We can't see this whole thing, but I threw it on the screen. But Peter basically complimented this whole thing. Wonderful. Good stuff, Peter. Buttering Natalie up before the ask. Rooting for you on Honeybook. Just completed a report on how companies can achieve success with content in the age of AI. I'd love to share it with you and get some feedback. How can I do that? And then in square brackets, candidly wrote, also using this to stylishly showcase my ability to you. Oh, that's shooting your shot. Okay, what do we think?
I appreciate the effort, and I'm interested to read it. I mean, you can find me on LinkedIn. Send me a DM.
Boom, there it is. One final question. Someone else said that they had applied, they got flagged or rejected by the ATS, had done a lot of rework on their resume. Is there a way they can apply again? Is that possible, or get in touch with you or something?
I believe so. I believe you can apply again. And if you're running into any issues with that, I'm not aware of something that would prevent you from applying again. But if you're meeting a big roadblock, feel free to shoot me a DM. And
there we go, Abby. Okay, she says you cannot. So maybe Abby can reach out to you directly then.
You can reach out to me and we can unblock that so she can apply again.
All right, there we go. Natalie, thank you so much for doing this. Folks, thanks for all the wonderful questions. We will get this thing edited up and we'll put it on our YouTube. So if you want to watch it again and just, see if there's any extra wisdom from Natalie you might have missed as you're going through the process, you'll be able to rewatch the whole thing. And we're going to be doing more of these. So if you are interested in learning more from hiring managers about what they're looking for, stay tuned for more of these. Natalie, thank you so much for joining us. This was fun.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
All right. Have a great day, everybody. We'll catch you next time.
Bye-bye.